Afternoon, guys. This is Eric LeClaire over at Push Press, and we are continuing our leadership discussion within the trenches. And today, for those of you that may not know the phrase or the gym District H, I am super happy and super excited to hear from Tommy. I say this because Texas is open, and that means open for business as of yesterday. And so at Push Press, as a company, we get a chance to work with hundreds of gym owners, owners in the micro gym space, the CrossFit affiliate space, even in the martial arts space. And so we get a chance to see folks at all levels of business, beginning gyms, intermediate gyms, advanced gyms. And there's a handful of affiliate owners that stand out to us as leaders. And so the key here for us is to reach back into the community and hopefully pull some of those characteristics or traits out of those. And Tommy stands out big time. So today, from District H, Tommy, I appreciate having you, man.
No, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, so District H, we're a strength and conditioning gym in Houston, Texas, in the greater heights of Houston, Texas. So just north side of downtown. We've been around since 2012, and we've been a CrossFit affiliate since our beginning. So that's kind of us in a nutshell.
I dig it. Now, did you create the brand yourself, or did you kind of roll into ownership a different way?
I rolled into ownership a different way. So my wife and I moved to Houston, Texas from San Diego, California in 2015. And at the time I was into CrossFit. I had been doing it for about 2 years, and I was going all around Houston trying to find my next home. And we landed at District H because of the community of people that went there. Wasn't necessarily there was a games level coach that we wanted to be under, or that, what they offered was just good old-fashioned community and CrossFit, and we wanted to be a part of that. And so I had the opportunity of getting into the gym with two business partners in September of last year. So I'm only about 9 to 10 months in right now.
Right. I mean, that's talk about in its infancy, right? So now you're wearing all the hats, right? You get a chance to own, develop. I mean, and then months in, right, we get hammered by COVID-19. So, for a lot of people that know you today, they may not know maybe San Diego, or we know what California looked like. Did you grow up playing sports? Did you grow up competitive? What did, high school, maybe college, what did that look like?
Yeah, so I would say athletics was kind of my main thing that I was into growing up, primarily kind of all over the place, football, baseball, basketball, wrestling. Once I got to high school, I pretty much focused on baseball. I went to college to play baseball. I'm a left-handed pitcher at UC San Diego, and so that was kind of my general athletic background. And so, I kind of got out of school and I got focused on my career, and I got heavily out of shape, probably the most out of shape I've ever been in my life. And I was kind of looking for that new thing, and CrossFit kind of just tapped into that athletic DNA I think that was in me. And aside from that, just all of my closest friends are in the CrossFit community. Everybody that means a lot to me in my life that I can name on my hands. I mean, all of them do CrossFit. All of them are part of this community. So it was just a great natural fit for me.
I dig it. Now that you are in that ownership role, and, obviously it's multifaceted. You've got the entrepreneurial piece, you've got the organizational piece, the financial piece, but there's still that front-facing care for the clientele piece. Were you able to pivot from being the athlete focused on yourself and your own development, now flip that, 180, and now you're focusing on others? How did you do that? Did you take with you any lessons learned from coaches that you grew up under?
Yeah, I would say that. So one of the benefits of making that transition easier was that I was a member and a coach before I became an owner. And so a lot of the people that I was coaching inside the gym, it was just kind of like, well, now I get to lead you all. That's essentially what the transition was. And it wasn't that big a deal. Most people, I think, that supported me and wanted to believe in me in the direction I wanted to take the gym, they got behind me pretty quickly. In terms of coaches that made an impact on me, the one that comes to mind, his name is Sham Cortazi. He's owner and operator of CrossFit Brit in Irvine, California. And he taught me, I think, the very best aspects of what great CrossFit looks like in terms of doing it right. This whole idea of virtuosity, taking care of your body, and really looking at the longevity part of it and not the, go out, compete, burn out, get hurt in 2 or 3 years. This is more of a lifestyle. And he ingrained that in me from the very beginning. And that's always kind of been my general philosophy when it comes to taking care of my own members in my community.
I dig it. I totally dig it. I'm always so interested to see, so we're just up the highway from Irvine, and I've been really happy to watch, like, I don't want to say generationally, but when you come from a good place and you're able to take the concepts or the principles and then morph them into now here you are, a kind of a reflection of that early coach, that's going to impart on now your junior coaches or your interns or your coaching staff. And down the road, who knows? I mean, maybe one of them splits off and creates their own model or their own brand, and they're going to take from you little bits and pieces of those as well. So I'm really happy to hear that. And
yeah, I would say Sham, he saw potential in me. He was able to tap into it and put me on a completely different trajectory in my life. And so the whole purpose of my gym that I want to do is to do the exact same thing, to say, if you inspire somebody to want to take care of their health and wellness, who knows what type of potential you can untap in these people, and they can give their greatest gifts to the world, once they're the best versions of themselves. So that's kind of the general idea.
I dig it. I totally dig it. So now you've got a staff that you care for, or help, so are you involved in their coach development or their staff development?
I am. Yeah. And so, since we took over the gym, we've had 100% staff turnover. I basically just said, I want to rebuild from the ground up. And I brought on who I thought had the building blocks in terms of what makes a great coach. And to me, it's just you care for others and you're willing to work hard and have a growth mindset about how you approach the profession of coaching. And I can fill in the gaps. I mean, so I can teach you everything else you need to know about systems and, running general classes and whatever. But if that DNA is in you, that you want to be of service to people and you're motivated and you're okay receiving feedback and being like, I'm constantly looking and leaning into challenge, I can teach you everything else. And so that's been a huge part of the last 9 months, is finding those right people.
I love it. It's so funny. You went exactly to where our next line of questioning was. Is we ask coaches all the time, we ask owners all the time, if you were to have to name off 3 characteristics or attributes that you look for in, budding coaches or, junior interns or whatever, things like integrity comes up to, often in discussion, good communication, a willingness to learn, like you said, a growth mindset, all that stuff is critical, because we recognize that in this space, professional strength and conditioning coaches there aren't very many that take it with that level of professionalism, and there are tens of thousands that do it as a part-time job, and they never gain enough traction to make it their full-time gig.
Mm-hmm. No, I completely agree. I mean, the 3 big things that I always look for, I think integrity is kind of just it's almost like an assumption. Like, I assume you have integrity in order to exist in this world and be a professional. But I definitely look for, you want to help others, and I don't need a games level athlete that's just using this as a conduit to train all day. I need somebody that wants to legitimately invest their time and energy into making my community the best that they can possibly be. So aside from that, having a growth mindset, understanding that there's people that you can always learn from to make yourself better, and be open to that. And that's a really good thing. And then obviously I think the last thing is this, you embody everything that we stand for. You have to walk the walk. You can't just say, I believe in nutrition. Yeah, I believe in healthy mindset. I believe in taking care of my body, but you don't look the part, because that's not going to inspire anybody to want to follow you, And so those are kind of the 3 big things.
I dig it. Now, so you had a chance to, because here we are having the discussion like later in May. So you've had a chance to come into the role, assume a leadership position, start grooming the staff, developing capacity, like academic capacity, social capacity. And then we start getting this January, February, COVID-19. Now you've got states, domino effect, shutting down one after the next. How did you start to triage the issues, or how did you communicate maybe to the staff, hey, this is going to be serious?
That's a great question. So I remember being in a business meeting in Austin, Texas, about a week, let's call it, I think it was March 9th. And I got an email, it might have been from Push Press, it might have been from the folks over at UpLaunch or even Two Brain that were basically saying like, you need to get in front of this. And I was just like, what are we talking about? Within 10 days, we had closed the doors of our gym, of me receiving that email to actually closing our doors because it accelerated quite a bit. And the first thing that I did was I went to my team, which was my general manager, my head coach, and one of my business partners. And I said, we have two choices, you guys. We can just not do anything and just hope this gets better, or we can lean into this and try to lead through this as best as we possibly can. And when I got three pairs of eyes looking back at me thinking, well, what do you want us to do? I say, we're going to lead. We're going to give this a shot. And if it doesn't work, at least we said that we worked our absolute hardest for the benefit of our community.
Right.
And that's the best we can do. And so that's essentially was the first discussion I had. The things that I prioritized were I basically took our entire client list and I pushed it into 4 different parts. You're getting these 30 clients, I'm getting 30. These are your new best friends until however long we get through this. You're checking in with them weekly. What do they need? How can we best serve you? Even if it's just something to, they just need someone to talk to through this. You be that person. And then we'll get into the fitness part later, but that's the first thing that we did. And obviously trying to secure ourselves financially, coming up with ideas about how do we pivot to a virtual or remote solution. All of those things happened within about 2 weeks.
Man, talk about fast ability to just like adapt and keep moving. I mean, I'm no longer an affiliate owner. We got into the space around 2006. We just sold a gym last August. And so now at a distance, I get a chance to work with coaches. And the number one characteristic of those that are very successful and have, shown as leaders through this is that ability to adapt, be flexible, and still execute.
Yep.
So I'm super happy to hear that was the strategy that you employed. And, here we are, state by state, obviously different governors, different background, different, fundamental makeups of each state and each county there below. Congratulations, you're open. California sits back on the back burner, just sitting going, well, maybe August, maybe July. So, excited, obviously. So now what did you do with your staff to prepare for day one opening? Do you want to kind of maybe walk our audience through what that looks like in Houston?
Yeah, and so obviously closely following what was coming out of the state leadership in terms of, and even the city leadership, because what's happening in Dallas or Amarillo is completely different than what's happening in Houston. And so we had to kind of get our information from multiple sources. So at the state level, once I had an idea about what the timeline was, once Governor Abbott came out and said, okay, we're letting this expire April 30th, we're going to do this in phases, I started building out our game plan in terms of as soon as he gives us the green light, we're going. You know what I mean? And I had a lot of pushback from members about that. It's unsafe, I'm being reckless, right. All of the above. And basically what I said was, I respect all of that. And I respect you enough for you to make your own decision about your own health, but I want to be able to accommodate everybody's needs as best as I can. And the only variable that we could control was making sure within the confines of our facility, everyone's as safe as possible. And so what we did was constant communication with clients. Here's what the game plan is in terms of how many classes we're offering. Here are the times. Here's the protocol. Here's what we're doing in between classes to clean. Please bear with us as, this is going to be completely different that you're going to have to experience for the first couple of weeks. Walking in the front door, leaving out the back door. You're washing your hands before, you're washing your hands after. I'm disinfecting everything between, just laying it out visually for them and being repetitive about it so that when they walked in, the expectation was already set. And I can't enforce enough explaining the why to people. Right. Build trust with them to say, this is why we're doing this. It might seem like an inconvenience, but think about how many people that, we're taking care of by being responsible about this. So, a lot of pushback, but it was fun. We're good.
You leave the choice up to the consumer, but when those that decide to walk through your door, you're showing the absolute highest level of care and compassion and consistency.
And even with, hey, I I don't feel safe coming in your facility right now, my follow-up is, what can I do to best serve you right now? What do you need? What can I do? Is it accountability? Do you need equipment for a longer period of time? What's working for you? Do you like the remote coaching? And so just to keep people engaged and always keep that mindset of, I'm here to serve you. That's my job. That's why we're here. And so if you disagree with me on being in here, what can I do to best accommodate you, as best as I possibly can?
So in that same vein, then, will you continue to deliver your digital resources for, let's say, the next 30 to 60 days?
Yes. Yeah. No, that's what I've learned through all of this is don't put a hard cap or timeline on anything. It's just going to evolve as it goes. And so just be flexible. If people are like, I really enjoy the videos that you post every week in SugarWOD so I can see the at-home demos and stuff like that, we're going to keep doing that for as long as it takes care of our people. And yeah, there are some stuff that we had to cut because it just wasn't working. The Zoom classes fell off pretty quickly. So it's like, that's not something that's working, but keep coming up with ideas and keep asking for feedback from from members. That feedback is so important.
Yeah, no, I dig it. I totally dig it. I mean, I think that's been probably one of the most consistent messages delivered, at least from the Two Brain community, is ask, right? How can I best help you? What do you need from me now? What problem can I help you get through, type of thing. Mm-hmm. Is District H, is it a Two Brain gym?
It is a Two Brain gym.
Excellent.
I reached out to them pretty early on because I believe in mentorship. Like I said, I believe in that growth mindset. So surround myself with people that know what they're doing because I obviously don't have all the answers. Learned that pretty quickly as well.
I could only imagine how much, how different, selfishly and personally, my own development would have been had someone like Chris been around in its full mentorship capacity in 2006. I mean, we literally stumbled through the darkness for the first couple of years. We had resources, we had the journal, we had early adopters and coaches that were willing to take us under their wing. But from a business standpoint, there's not many out there that are willing to get as invested as that community. So I'm really happy to hear District H is attached to them.
Yep.
That's great.
Yep.
So looking forward now, you've got doors open at a limited capacity. How is that affecting programming?
So my partner, Dustin, he's a physical therapist by trade. And so he actually takes care of all of our programming. And it's nothing crazy special, but he's basically able to look at our community and say, what do they need the most right now? And we kind of just incorporate that into our programming. But what we wanted to do is get back to what we were doing in the first place, which is kind of true strength and conditioning with some CrossFit. But we're obviously having to temper the volume a little bit and focus more as we reincorporate people into the gym, slowly building back up to the type of volume we were doing beforehand. And so the programming itself, the structure hasn't changed. I would say the volume and the way we control flow in the class until people get the hang of when I'm in this spot in the class, I go to this spot on the wall because we're trying to manage people crossing each other in a close capacity. So we've had to be creative with EMOMs. Basically, when there's a lot of movement, we use EMOMs because we can control it. So
control through the gym. That makes sense. I dig that. I totally dig that. There's going to be a handful of folks that will be able to take away from today's discussion on, I know that's been a stumbling block for a lot of folks, particularly if they outsource their programming to some other company or some other community, and then they're just, they're getting templates emailed back to them. They then have to take that template and digest it down into, how does this now work on our floor space, either limited equipment, limited personnel. Did you change much as far as your offerings per day, like classes per day or sessions per day?
Yeah, so I sent out a survey to everyone saying, what kind of works best for your schedule, and then based on that, we basically opened up I'd call it at maybe 75% capacity of what we had beforehand. And in terms of class sizes, we had to cut it in half for safety. And I mean, yesterday we were almost full throughout the day. Today looks like it's going to be about the same. So come June 1st, I'm probably going to open up 2 more classes. The limitation that I'm running into is capacity. I have to figure out a way to increase capacity. And so again, just going back to the drawing board, trying to figure out ways to increase space in a safe way within our facility or slightly outside of our facility so it can accommodate more people. That's going to be our biggest limiting factor.
So has that then also forced you to make any adjustments on memberships and the kind of the definition of what memberships allow for?
Yeah, I mean, we're not there yet, but that's coming. It's definitely coming. If I can't solve the problem, I'm going to have to redefine what memberships are. And so that's a thought in the back of my mind right now.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I ask that is that these are the probably the most pressing popular topics that come up earlier in our day. So the majority of the folks are out here in California, but we set up an early morning call for those that watch. It's Good Stuff Daily, and we're fielding questions both from the hotline as well as from gym owners. And it's everything from how do I adjust programming? How do I adjust flow on the floor? How do I adjust memberships? How do I change pricing structures? Like, it's a free for all right now, and folks are trying to figure out what works in their space. And what works in Houston may not be the solution for, some gyms in Miami or up in Boston. Who knows? I mean, everyone's going to be different.
I agree. Yeah. So the two things that I'm playing with is through this whole COVID-19 thing, we developed a permanent remote coaching solution. And so we're doing one-on-one follow-ups with each of our clients, and some of are going to move to remote. Some of are going to move to a hybrid type solution, which increases capacity. And then some are probably just going to want to keep staying in the gym. But then the next step would be either just having not an unlimited membership anymore. It'd be like we only have 2 times a week, 3 times a week, 4 times a week, price it accordingly, and just charge per class is the only way is the only solution that I see right now.
Until there comes a point where maybe mandates are completely overhauled and now you're back to full operational capacity, right?
The social distancing is relaxed. That's the biggest thing, is just the social distancing. We're trying to keep as much space as possible. And so
that's just square footage, right?
Yeah, so each person within our gym has about 300 square feet to themselves, so it's pretty spaced out, and for safety, obviously. And so as soon as that's relaxed, that's going to allow us to obviously increase capacity again. But that's going to be that or buying the piece of land next to me and knocking down a wall.
Right. Which who knows? There are so many folks that have had to get creative. Either they've been forced outside, they've been forced to use different floors. I know 2 gym owners in here that knocked down their office walls, and all they kept are bathrooms. Yep. And so they're like, look, we'll operate off of a plyo box and a bench and a laptop. We don't need an office anymore, but we need the floor space.
We're actually playing around with, do you know those those outdoor tents you usually see at like wedding banquets? We're actually going to be playing around with those a little bit to see what we can do to increase capacity. That's kind of it's the only way for us to do it in a cost-effective way. So, I mean, but again, like going back to that discussion of like, hey, we have a problem, lean into it, figure it out, rely on other gym owners, rely on other business leaders to figure out how to make this work, and just embrace it, just go for it. So
no, totally agreed. I mean, so that actually brings us to the next question of like, so you totally dig mentorship, obviously, right? So besides Two Brain, are there other gym owners that you are either very close with, good friends still with, or look up to, and you're like trying to solve problems together, whether they're across the country or they're just even still in the greater Texas area?
That is an excellent question. I would say there are not too many gym owners that I'm consistently speaking with on a daily basis. I think just being a part of the Two Brain group, they have a Facebook group, so you have access to a lot of different gym owners. I'm reading stuff every day, and maybe it's like we're not necessarily interacting, but I'm taking away ideas that people are posting where I'm like, that's a great idea. Like, I should try doing something like that. And so there is a small group of us that speak in the Houston community about like what's working, what's not working, or even just to have a shoulder to lean on when we've all had those really, really tough days. I mean, there was a day, like May 1st or 2nd, where I think I had 5 people cancel their memberships that day. And I remember sitting in the gym with one of my business partners, and we were looking at each other. And it was one of those heart-to-heart discussions of what are we going to do? Sometimes other gym owners, although we're competing against each other, we're really not. It's use each other as support, because we're all going through this. And so even if it's just someone you need to vent to, I've had a few of those in the last couple of months.
Yeah, I believe it. I mean, so now you're at a spot where the problem or the problem solution is also retention, I would guess, because now it's like trying to collect back members that may have dropped off.
Mm-hmm.
Did you lose any staff?
I did not.
Good. That's excellent. That's excellent. Okay.
Yeah, I prioritized their well-being as best as I could. I was able to secure PPP loans. I was able to get some more funding, stuff like that, because I wanted to take care of them. It's like that. This isn't their fault. And although they told me multiple times it's not your responsibility, I think it is. And so I wanted to make sure they were taken care of.
Excellent. I sincerely appreciate hearing that. There's a couple of folks there that we know them and we see them online and we connect with them and try to talk. And a lot of times we see them turn inward and it becomes this me thing versus us, or, caring externally versus internally.
Yeah.
Well, for those coaches out there that have failed or are on that verge of failing, because obviously our audience can benefit from this. Probably have to wait for that truck to go by here in a second.
Yeah.
Think through if you were to have any words of wisdom, or hold on, let me mute this out. There we go. If you had to have a chance to communicate to those folks that are like on the edge, nervous about going forward, maybe they're still closed, what would you say? Any advice or any wisdom you can share?
Man, I would do a true gut check of where you're at. I don't believe in giving up. I don't believe in anything like that. But at the same time, I understand that priorities change and you have to take care of your main priorities. And so if the business is putting your family at risk, if the business is doing things that are just, I would say, your heart's just not in it anymore. I would say, first of all, I would tell those people that that's okay. It's okay to feel that way. Don't feel like you have to do this because you have to do this. If your heart's in it for the right reasons, I think you're going to come out of this on the better end of things. I mean, just to give people hope, yesterday was our first day back open. We lost some members. Retention was pretty high, but we've already signed up 6 people in 24 hours. And so people are out there looking for health. There are people out there that are looking for a community. And I think if you can keep your eye on the prize and keep focusing on what your members need right now, I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised about how successful you're going to get through this. Always put their needs first. Always rely on your team. I can't stress this enough about how I was able to get through that. I don't think I'd be able to get through this without a good team. I feel like sometimes you're so close to it that all of this is so overwhelming, it paralyzes you. You just don't know what to do or how to act. And so feel free to reach out to people for support and make small daily goals every day of how you can get closer to serving those who need you right now, because they do need you. And yeah, that'd be my words of wisdom to everyone.
I dig it. There's going to be a lot of folks that are going to be able to take away some of that and start to apply it in their daily practice. The team aspect was huge. I think there's so many folks that feel singular or isolated that they've got to absorb it all, and they're not delegating tasks out or, just saying, hey, look, I need help with these 5 things. Which one of you can help me? That's huge.
It's huge. It's huge. Yeah. And I think if you've done a great job inspiring them to serve your purpose, they're going to follow you, and they're going to go to bat for you, and they're going to make sure that you be successful, because the only thing that I can do is kind of just lead by example and just hope that people follow it. And again, I think gym owners will be pleasantly surprised how quickly things might get back up to scale. Yeah, this was definitely a gut punch for us in terms of momentum, but
I totally see that. Especially being 9 months into the game. I mean, there are some gym owners that are 4, 5, 6, even 10 years into the game, and they're struggling, really, really struggling.
And I think that's just where a healthy gut check of where you're at and what your purpose is, and just being okay with, if that answer is, this isn't in the best interest of me or my family anymore, it's okay to say that. It's okay. Don't take that as a failure on your part. No one can plan for a pandemic. It's just, we're all kind of operating by the seat of our pants here. But what I've noticed is just putting your members first and trying to take action every single day, even if it's just one thing. It's gonna help you out a ton.
For those that enjoyed today's discussion, and may have some private questions. Maybe they don't want to exchange in the affiliate owners forum, or they don't want to exchange in the Two Brain forum. If they want to reach out, how can they find you? Or how can they connect?
Best way to reach out to me is just via email. It's just tommy@districthsf.com. I'm not happy to talk to anybody. I know what everyone's obviously kind of going through right now, and if you just need someone that needs to listen to you, I'm here.
Outstanding. Man, I sincerely appreciate your time. For those of you guys that are watching at home today, I hope you really took some notes, and we'll reach out and ask questions if necessary. Man, Tommy, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, Eric. Thank you, man. Take care.